Ma'am, we are live now.
Okay. A very warm good evening. I, Chandana Paul, Assistant Professor in Vatel Hotel and Tourism Business School, Sushant University, welcome you all for today's webinar. Today is day 2 of the workshop series, Hospitality and Tourism Interface, focused on evolving travel sentiments during this COVID era. Today's topic is contact-centric to contactless, new normal of the hotel industry. While businesses adopt to the new normal created by COVID-19, it's imperative to keep pace with a quickly evolving customer experience. Companies are moving quickly to institute new policies and processes that will allow them to reopen or in some cases remain open. Many are investigating opportunities to shift towards contactless service and operations, allowing the cores of their business to continue operating while assuring both employees and customers of their safety. To give us more information and insights on the topic, we have Mr. Sajid Mahmood with us. And I will take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Sajid Mahmood. Mr. Sajid is member of the Board of Advisors in some hotels and resorts. The BA Honours in Economics from Kirori Medical College, University of Delhi. He is a hotel management professional from IHM Pusa, New Delhi. He has been associated with various multinational hotel brands like Swellet Personal Suites, General Manager of Country in Jaipur, Head of the Sales and Marketing of Carlson Hotels in India, Vice President Marketing for Hotels Private Limited, Vice President Development Tricon India Private Limited, and many others. He has won many accolades and recognitions, which include Carlson General Manager of the Year Award 2007, Yes, I Can Reward for Positive Approach for 2006, and the hotel received Carlson President Award for 2007. I would request now Mr. Mahmood to please give us some insight information about the topic contactless, contact-centric, and contactless. Sir, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chandana, and thank you for giving this topic to me. It's an interesting topic. I believe in half of it. I don't believe in the other half, which I will explain in my presentation. So today we are going to talk about what everybody's talking about is a new normal in the hotel industry, where we are supposed to switch over to a contactless situation. Now, before I go into what is happening in the industry uh, to fulfill this requirement, the new normal, I would like to talk about what we mean by new normal, what we mean by contact centric, and what we mean by being contactless. So, hey, it's not moved. Uh, Sunil, I think what I'll be, it's not gone to the next one. How do I go
So
page
on the
down?
left hand side, you will see two arrows which are like pointing up and down. So from there, you can move the slides up and down. Will you
Oh,
repeat that?
yes, I got it. I got it. I got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So, what is a new normal? We talk about the new normal. Actually, new normal, as people mistake it, is not a total change in the way we operate. The hotel industry will remain what it is, but yes, there are going to be certain modifications in our operating procedures. Now, let's take some examples. If you remember, in the 1980s, we had the HIV pandemic. There was a big scare about it. Don't touch this, don't touch that. Slowly, we understood what HIV was all about, and we settled down to a normal situation again. Today, when you travel and somebody's sitting next to you, you do not look at that person with suspicion and say, hey, am I sitting next to a HIV person? We've got used to it and we've understood it. Today, we even touch people. People are living a normal life having HIV. Then, if you recall, in 1992, we had the Bombay bomb blasts. So, again, there was a massive change. But what one change that took place was the CCTV cameras were introduced in hotels, at the front office and uh, all public areas. Then came the 9/11 attack in 2001. And the 9/11 attack had a massive effect on the entire world, but it affected more airport security. So security became strong at the airports, but now we are traveling happily. Yes, that security level has been introduced, where we have to give our baggage for screening and we go through that security. Then in 2008, we had the Mumbai attack. Now, in the Mumbai attack, if you remember, two hotels were badly affected, the Taj and the Oberoi in Bombay. So a lot of things happened in the hotel operating procedures. And one thing was that every guest who comes has to show a photo identity card, and the baggage has to be scanned. And those uh, door frame detectors have come up in all hotels. Now we have the pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic that has come. Now this has brought into focus two areas, sanitation and hygiene. So we are following many processes now, and some processes will stay for not long, but some will become permanent features of hotel operation. So now let me come down to what we mean by contact centric. Centric. A hotel is, as you know, described as a home away from home. So contact is essential. We can't do with it. We are going to be, we'll continue to be contact centric. But it's going to change how we are going to be contact centric. Because we need to have contact with our clients. We need to have a personal interaction with guests when we are meeting them, when we meet at home. We have a direct contact with them when we are providing good services in restaurants, in spas, and other places. And we have indirect contact with them when we are doing up their rooms and looking after their security behind the scene. So contact will remain. Now, it will become what is meant by becoming contactless. I would say that it is not lack of interaction, but it is a reduced physical contact. There'll be social distancing. There'll be absence of physical touching, like shaking hands, hugging. Hugging we do not do unless we are very, very familiar with the guest and they become a friend of ours. And we'll have to avoid unnecessary interaction with guests. Otherwise, we would just walk up to them and we would talk to them just to make friends with them and make them feel at home. So that is the difference that's going to take place in our operating procedures. I'll share with you what is happening about with the new normal exercise in hotels. After a lot of discussion with the government of India and the various hotel associations, I was part of the discussion. We have come up with a 12-page document that has been issued by the Ministry of Tourism, which hotels are following. And this exercise has to be put in force for a hotel to open. It's subject to inspection. So let's see. What is this new normal exercise? Let's begin with when the guest arrives. In many cases, we provide them with an airport pickup. Now, when we have an airport pickup, we have to make sure that the driver is wearing a mask and gloves. And whenever a person comes, the first thing we do is we offer them a bottle of cold water. This is usually done by the driver. Now, what we will do is we will keep it in the seat pocket of the car, and the driver will just point out, sir, the water is there. You can have it from there. And the driver is going to be advised not to chat too much with the guest. Otherwise, the driver's chatting was part of the service design. Once the guest reaches the hotel, at the entrance, it's become mandatory that the guard is going to take the body temperature using that infrared gun thermometer that you see in all malls and other places, and provide a hand sanitizer. Now, these hand sanitizer are usually foot operated. So you'll find a little pillar standing at the entrance with a squirter on top. So you just press it with your foot and the disinfectant comes out and you can clean your hands with it. All baggage, including hand baggage, has to be sanitized from the top, nothing from inside. Because we do not know from where the baggage is coming. Because it has been in an airport carousel, then it's been in an airport trolley, maybe it's dragged on the road. So therefore, it is sanitized with a wet cloth. Now, we are supposed to use the hand sanitizer. The rule is it has to have at least 100% alcohol content. So many of the old sanitizers that were, those gel types are not good. And the baggage sanitizing, we prepare a solution in the hotel. It's a 1:100 dilution of 5% sodium hypochlorite. Sodium hypochlorite is also used in what we call as a R2 solution. Yeah. And when it comes to check-in, the first thing which you do is we expect the guest to come in a mask. And suppose they don't, what do we do? So there are masks available at the guests. The first thing we do is present them in a mask and politely inform them that as long as they are in public area of the hotel, they should be wearing a mask. The receptionist maintains a distance. The counter or the table is a good enough distance between the guest and the receptionist. So instead of sometimes they used to come around the table, around the counter and talk to the guests. Now they're not supposed to do that. Just be behind the counter, behind the table, and handle all the identification and payment cards with gloves. And as you remember, as you know, that most hotels will provide them a welcome drink, which was served to them. Now, instead of handing over the welcome drink to them, there's a place where chilled water bottles and juices in Tetra packs, which have been sanitized, are kept. And we request the guest to pick it up from there. Many hotels have started placing small refrigerators with a glass top, where the guests can see and whatever they want, they can pick it up. And we provided them with a welcome pamphlet that gives them all the modified procedures for COVID in the hotel. Because it's always nice to tell the guest that what all is going to happen, how will they be served in the restaurant, how will they be served in the room. So if somebody comes to deliver something to them in the room and the person is not entering the room, the guest knows why, right? Then why aren't the guest is being escorted to the room? Usually, the person escorting the guest would walk side by side with the guest. Now they will maintain a distance and they will walk in front because they have to guide the way. They're sort of walking along with the guest. The elevators now have been marked. The floor of the elevators are all being marked as to where people should stand. And if the elevator is small, the trick is that you ask people to face away from each other. So the mark that is made on on the floor of the elevator has got two footprints, even telling them which direction to face. When the guest reaches the room, there will be a paper seal on the door, which will be placed by housekeeping after the room has been sanitized, cleaned, and sanitized. This is basically to give confidence to the guest that your room has been sanitized, and after that, nobody has gone into your room. And we ask the guest himself to break the seal and open the door, and the person escorting just mentions the guest in. The person escorting is not supposed to go to the room because we made a rule that no service staff is ever going to enter the room when the guest is inside. So from there only, they're going to wish them a pleasant stay. We always wish them a pleasant stay. This time we're going to add, sir, ma'am, have a safe stay. Because that's becoming the new normal. When it comes to housekeeping, now again, housekeeping is going to service the room only when the guest is not there. So therefore, in the introduction, we are requesting that when they go out, they should hang that door knob of please service my room. Whatever whatever the hotel has. Some hotels have got those little lights outside which put on the button of do not disturb and service by room. They just have to put an indicator that they need room to be serviced. We are doing away with the turn down service in the evening because, as you know, we would usually do a turn down service. Turn down service means that houseman or a chambermaid goes to the room, pressures if the cushions have been ruffled, they're smoothed out. They take a peep in the toilet. If a towel has been used, if somebody's had a bath, so they clean up the shower cubicle or the bathtub and make it fresh again. Not being done because the guest is invariably in the room. Of course, it will be done if the guest requests. And then we request the guest to go to the lobby and the freshening up is being done. In the toilets, in the bathrooms, we are providing only soaps and shampoos. All of the amenities are on request. They request and it will be delivered to them. The reason behind this is that when he checks out, everything out there has to be jumped because they may have touched various things. So the cost becomes very high if you're going to keep all the emojis, and every time a person checks out, you're going to throw away all the emojis. So we are putting everything, we're putting a little plaque out, a little signage out there. If you've forgotten anything, just give a call to housekeeping. And the housekeeping people have been trained that it has to be delivered fast. If somebody wants a toothbrush, somebody wants a shaving kit, it means they need it immediately. So those changes are being made in the operating procedure, and these abilities are kept in the housekeeping control room so that they can be dished out and delivered very fast. On departure, what we do is in the hotels that all the linen is removed. All the toiletries are removed, towels are removed, bath mats, all the bed sheets, pillow covers, everything is stripped out. And the room is left to air for a minimum of 3 hours before it is made again. Top-end hotels are following the process of fogging the room. Because these foggers, they fog the room when the person checks out. Because if you fog it, it goes in all the probable places where a guest may have touched. The linen that comes out of a departure room is taken into a quarantine room in a separate plastic bag and is kept there for 24 hours before it goes for laundry. It's just an added precaution because we've been told that on linen, any COVID infection lasts about an hour or so. But we are taking a precaution, and we've advised all the hotels to make it a 24-hour habit. So they should just keep it for 24 hours. Now let's come down to food and beverage service. Now in food and beverage service, what we have to do is, in all hotels, we have to reduce the number of covers in restaurants to provide a distancing of at least 3 feet between tables. Now, if you provide 3 feet between tables, you safely get a distance of 6 to 7 feet between people, because that is what's important. You need to have a 6 to 7 feet difference between people. The best shape is to keep it in a diamond shape with corner to corner. That gives more space. And covers too have been reduced. The tables that have 8, 3 on each side and 1 on each side. Now we're going to put it as 2 on each side, and 1 at the head and 1 at the tail, so that there is enough gap between 2 people sitting there. Now, when it comes to food service, we are doing away with buffets. The reason for doing away with buffets is that the service spoons of buffets have to be picked up by different people. So in large places, like recently I was advising a couple of restaurants that operate at the Narbada, where that statue of Sardar Patel is. A lot of tourists go there, and there are huge restaurants that serve lunch to 300, 400 people at a time. Now, those guys cannot afford individual service, so they got to have a buffet. So in their case, a buffet has been allowed, provided there are people standing behind the buffet and dishing out the stuff. So the guest does not touch the service spoon. There are people standing at the back who are serving the guest whatever they want. When it comes to a la carte service, when people order and it is to be served on the table, the food is placed on the table. If you recall, if you ever went to a restaurant, the steward would come and place it on the table, and they would pick up one dish and say, "Sir, ma'am, may I serve you?" And they would place the food in your plate. Now that's not happening. We're just leaving it on the table and requesting the guests to serve themselves, because they're giving a sanitized pair of service spoon and fork, which they can use, and then it's only the guest using them. During the meal, if the guest asks for any additional cutlery, crockery, or glassware, it is not taken by hand and kept it there. It is kept in a tray and offered it to the guest, asking the guest to pick it up. You see, what I like to point out is that it is yes, it is important to take all these precautions, but it's also important to show it to the guests to give them the confidence that they are in a safe place. Because they need to have this confidence that they are in a safe place. Now, when it comes to room service, now room service today is more of room delivery. What I mean by that is that the steward comes and delivers it at the door. So brings a trolley or the tray to the door, rings a bell or knocks, and when the guest comes out, it's handed over to the guest there and then. Even the signing of the check is being done in a particular way. I'll tell you how this is done. The steward keeps the check folder and the pen on one end of the trolley, requesting the guest to sign. And after the guest has signed, turns the trolley around and picks up the uh, folder. And the guest can pull the trolley inside. As far as the drinks are concerned, the drinks are again placed on the table, and the guest is asked to serve themselves, whether it's wine or if there is a hard drink like whiskey or rum or anything, then they have to they're requested to pour their own water, soda, and place ice in it. Unlike the previous time when they used to be served out there. When it comes to checkout, in checkout in hotels where they've got space available, they have a large counter. They've been asked to segregate the area of check-in and check-out. So the basic idea is so that more people can be served and the people checking in don't come into close contact with people who are checking out. And in the pamphlet that's been provided, guests are being requested to inform beforehand before they check out so the bill can be prepared. Now, this is being done so that the guest spends minimum time at the checkout counter. Otherwise, when a guest comes into a checkout counter and says, I'm checking out, it takes a little time for the receptionist to find out whether something has been used from the minibar, inform housekeeping to get a feedback from housekeeping that your room is okay, prepare the check and present it to them. Now, when it comes to preparing the draft bill and showing it to the guest, conventionally a printout was taken of the bill and shown to the guest. So the guest had any queries about it or any objections to it, it could be adjusted. Now, this is being shown to the guest in a screen that is put towards the guest. So it's very simple. The computer of the checkout receptionist has been connected to two screens, with one screen facing the guest, so they can see the bill out there. And we are requesting that if the final bill can be emailed to them. Most of them are happy to get it emailed because it becomes they don't have to bother about where their bill is in case they go back to the organizations and they seek reimbursement. Some people who want a bill to be printed, they're given a printed bill. But printed bills are on request now. After the transaction is over, now while the guest is making payment, a sanitizer is offered to a guest when the guest is being requested to punch in the PIN on the payment card terminals. Because they have to put their finger there and put their PIN in. So we offer them this thing and offer them tissues if they wish. On departure, the luggage is sanitized again before being placed in the car. We want to make sure that nothing from the hotel goes to some other place. So these are the extra things that hotels are doing during checkout. Now, what's most important is let's get to the what we call the heart of the house. You must have heard the terminology back of the house. No, I think a better terminology is heart of the house because that's the place from where all the services originate and they come out. Now, in the heart of the house, there are certain staff disciplines that have to be implemented. Even at the time office, the laser ray gun, infrared gun is used to check the temperature. And if any staff coming in is found to have temperature, because temperature is the first sign of a probable COVID case. It's not a guarantee that it's a COVID case, it's a probable COVID case. If it's found, they're sent home and they can resume duty only after they've been cleared by the hotel doctor. In other words, you're going to go to the hotel doctor, meet him, have a checkup. If the hotel doctor says, hey, everything is fine, it was just a little temperature, which is okay, then the person can come in, otherwise they are not allowed. The staff is being advised that they should come only 20 minutes before the shift timing and they should leave immediately after the shift closes. Now, this is being done because we want to reduce the number of people in the service area. Otherwise, there was this habit of people who come hours before, chat around with their friends. So, yes, the cafeteria is closed in non-food hours. So, there is no place for people to chat around. So, they just have to come, do their work, and go. In the departments, the outgoing shift has been advised to keep the handover ready before the next shift comes in so that the handover can take place quickly and the outgoing shift can be asked to go out. Now, those of us who have worked in hotels know that the practice used to be that only when the shift comes in, then the shift head of the previous shift sits down and writes a log and prepares the handover. So we are telling them to prepare it in advance so that uh, the handover can be a little fast. And of course, social distancing is to be maintained at all times in the service. Where the corridors are narrow, we're advising people that if they cross somebody, they should turn their back and cross instead of looking at each other. And of course, they're going to have their masks on. As far as public areas are concerned, strictly, hotels are implementing that only the required staff is allowed to go to the public area, regardless of their position. So, a finance head is a very senior person, but the finance head is being asked not to go to the lobby during these times. So it has become appearance in the public area is function based and not your designation based. Coming down to uniforms and lockers. Now these are places where viral infection can be transmitted. So every hotel has been advised that uniform change has to take place every shift. There are certain areas like say the front office or supervisory tasks where people never used to change their uniform after a shift. You change it after 2, 4, 5 shifts. But now they're being asked to change it every shift. When they take their new uniform, they're being issued gloves and masks because the hotels are making these cloth masks which are washable and gloves that are washable. So they are given a fresh mask and a fresh pair of gloves every time they pick up the uniform. The shifts are being staggered between various departments. Now, usually, what used to happen is that all shifts would start or end at the same time. Now, this would create crowding in the locker rooms. So, through the HR department, this coordination is going on between various departments that the shifts should change at different time. So, if the F&B service morning afternoon shift is changing at 12 o'clock, let front office change at 1, let housekeeping change at 3. So that minimum number of people go to the locker room. In the locker room, we're advising the staff. We're not allowing them, we're telling them not to keep any non-essential item in the lockers, especially food stuff. There are people who used to keep food stuff, biscuits, chedava, and all these things. So that whenever they feel hungry, they can have it. They've been asked not to keep it there. Special provision has been made for snacks in the cafeteria for certain people. People who have got sugar problem. They carry some biscuits around with them. So whenever they have an issue, they can just munch at 1 or 2 biscuits and get their sugar level down. For such people, provision are being made. Provision is being made to provide them the stuff either at the cafeteria or in the department themselves. But strictly no keeping food in the locker room. And for that, in hotels, we have a regular check of lockers. This is a standard practice in hotels. And a lot of stuff comes out which has to be thrown away because we do not want our client, our staff, keeping stuff that can get them into trouble. But now it is being enforced very strictly. It's being done very regularly. Lockers are opened and examined, and all non-essential items taken out and departed. Hand washing facilities are provided near locker rooms or in locker rooms. In most cases, it is available because actually every locker room should have a toilet and changing room attached to it. It is there. But some hotels, small hotels don't have it. You know, the 30, 40 room hotel, they don't have it. They just have a small locker room in which they change and they can go to the staff toilets and go and wash their hands and whatever they want. Here we are insisting that if not a toilet, a sink where you can wash your hands is available in the locker room or close to it. So this is a change that is happening. Kitchen is a pretty critical area. And not only is it a critical area, it's also an area where it's possible to maintain hygiene that is required for COVID. Because anyway, in any good hotel, a high level of hygiene is maintained in the kitchen. I've yet to see a hotel of a good kitchen of a good hotel where good hygiene is not being practiced. So one thing that is being done is that the workstations are arranged to avoid a situation where people work face to face. Now in a hot range, it's okay. In a hot range, if even the hot ranges are face to face, there is usually a little wall between the two burners. And there is enough distance between the two people working, one on one side and one on the other side. And there's enough heat in the middle. So that's not a problem. But when it comes to pantries, guard branches, where chopping, cutting, slicing is taking place, or butcheries where cutting and slicing is taking place and space is less, you often have a situation where people are working facing each other. Now, this is not allowed. They can't face each other. So either one person works or the stations have to be moved around. Certain hotels, what they've done is that because they do not have the space, they've created a fiberglass partition between the two stations. That's also good enough, as long as they're not into each other's face. Pots and pans have to be wiped dry before being stored. Now, this is a little difficult to implement, but it is being implemented because when we go for inspections, it was a habit of just washing pots and pans and putting them in the storage space upside down. Because the storage space had a net below it and let them drip. But this time we are making them wipe them because in that case, the edges of the pots and pans very seldom do not dry up and they attract mold and moss and other things. Have to be cleaned regularly. They have to be cleaned every 2 hours in the kitchen. So mopping has to be done every 2 hours with a disinfectant. And all the panels have to be cleaned, like the wall tiles and the partition between the hot ranges have to be wiped clean. And most of the hotels are getting used to it, they are doing it. Masks and gloves. Now in the kitchen, what we told them is that masks and gloves have to be changed every time they get heavy soiled or wet. Because in the kitchen they get wet. They're not sweating. In this case, we are providing the hotels are being asked to provide a mask counter in the kitchen. So people don't have to rush to housekeeping. They can just place and take a new mask. Nail trimming has become very essential. Of course, it was part of the original operating procedure. But now it is going to be implemented very, very strictly. Little nail comes out, they have to trim them. And hands are to be washed with soap before and after process that cannot be conducted with gloves. Now, there are certain processes in the kitchen that cannot be conducted with gloves. Those of you, you guys work in the kitchen. You can't knead dough with gloves on. You cannot do certain deboning with gloves on. You got to have your gloves off because you need to hold the chicken, the fish, or the mutton with your hand firmly before you do cleaning, deboning, whatever it is. So in that case, you can work without gloves, but you just need to wash your hands with soap before and immediately after. And of course, all spillages are to be attended immediately. Anything that spills in the kitchen has to be cleared out immediately. So these are the precautions to be in the kitchen. Another area where we have to be very, very careful. I'm not taking you in detail because there are processes for housekeeping, there are processes for stores, there are processes for back office, slight additions to that. We also often wondered why there is a cafeteria in every hotel, and hotels do not encourage people to bring food from home. The reason is that in the back office, very often, if they bring food from home, they can chuck it in the waste bin, and then the office closes, and that can lie overnight and attract rodents and small insects. So that's why. So that is being implemented more strictly now. And so in the back office, every time when the back office closes, before the back office closes, all the bins have to be cleaned. Now coming to receivings. Now this is where the outside stuff comes in the hotel, and this is an area where virus can come in. So we are got to be very, very careful of receiving area. In the receiving area, glove, mask, face shields are used by all working in the receiving area. This is a place where face shields are used more than masks because there's a lot of sweating. It's not an air conditioning. It's an open place where stuff comes out. All vendors have to be informed beforehand about the COVID procedures that are going to take place. One of the COVID procedure is that we are doing away with blind receiving. Now, blind receiving is when a supplier would find something good and would just walk up to the hotel and say, "Hey, I've got some good tomatoes today. So why did you receive them?" So these are received without a purchase order. This is a very, very common practice in hotels, but now we are doing away with it. A supplier can come and supply only those things that have been ordered at the time of the delivery allocated. Now the delivery time is allocated. They can come only at that delivery time. If a lot of supplies have to come, say in a supply vehicle, and the supply vehicle has to back down into the service area, then the vehicle is supposed to be fogged first. First, the vehicle is supposed to be fogged. After the doors of the vehicles are open, then it's supposed to be fogged again. In cases where one or two packets have to be delivered, then we are asking them to park the vehicle at a distance, get the packet, and the packet is fogged and disinfected. The goods that cannot be sanitized, usually like potatoes, apples, and other things, they are kept in a quarantine for 24 hours. So they're kept in packets and it's neatly labeled that they will go inside the hotel after 24 hours. They received. So they received, they're not receiving, they are not sent to the store. They're just kept out there. And when the time comes, then the department is called up and they can come and pick up the stuff and take it to the department. Another very important precaution that hotels are being asked to take is not to use the trolleys that are used for unloading. We asked them to have two sets of trolleys. The trolley that is used to unload from the vehicle onto the receiving area. And then there's a separate trolley that takes that stuff to the store. These two trolleys have to be different now because the trolley that goes inside the hotel has to be heavy compared to the trolley. In fact, this is used only in very large hotels because in other hotels, you really do not require a trolley to unload the stuff from the vehicle onto the receiving platform. So that is to be done there. Now, lastly, I'd like to tell you there are three key points that have to be observed, whether it's the front of the house or the heart of the house. Number one, gloves and masks are to be worn at all times. Wherever gloves and masks are required, to be worn. Number two, physical distancing is to be maintained at all times. Even at the time of briefing. Briefing takes place, everybody is asked to line up. They have to be lined up at a distance. So we are advising people to have briefing standing and in open areas where sufficient distancing can be provided. And lastly, most important thing was we've been told by doctors again and again that the best thing against COVID is to wash your hands. So hand washing has become very essential. The timings when hand washing should take place is when people come to work. That's the time when they need to wash their hands. When they're going, after that they've gone, they picked up their uniform, they've changed, and now they're going to their place of work, station of work, leaving local. That's another time when you need to wash their hands before and after meal. And of course, if anybody goes to the toilet, when they return from the toilet, hand washing is essential. And we told them any time they get a feeling that they touch anything unclean. And I would say this is true for us people at home also, people at home. So these are the three key points that we have around which the entire new normal exercise is built around this. Right? So folks, thank you very much. Any
Thank you, Sajid.
questions if you have?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sajid sir. It was a
And
very informative PPT. I have few
no, wait,
questions. I was
let me get this last slide back.
okay, sir.
I know how I get the last slide back. I've lost it. Huh?
So the other arrow? Yes.
Wait. I got it.
Yes, 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 yes.
I got it. Now this is what I want to tell people. Please ask any question. And I just want students to remember that the only stupid question is an unasked one. That you don't ask.
Yes.
Right?
Sir,
Feel
I have a question. I was just going, when you were discussing with us, you said that personal touch, that personal interaction, that smile on the face, that's an essence of hospitality. Now, do you feel being totally driven?
Chandra, your voice is not clear. Can I just can you repeat this for me?
1 minute.
Yeah.
Can you hear now? Am I clear now? Am I audible?
Yeah. It's just talking. That's it. I'll try and figure out. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You were in
Yeah,
your
tell me.
PPT, you were talking about personal touch, that personal service, that personal interaction, and the smile on the face. That is a sense of hospitality, what we have learned. Now, do you feel being tech and being going contactless shall fade the real essence of hospitality?
Yes, that is affecting us, and for that, what we are advising is to use a face shield. In fact, I find it very problematic. When I went out shopping, when I go to a store, the first thing I do is I smile at the guy. So I can have good interaction. And all of I discovered my what I want my mask on. If I'm smiling, the person can't see. So in public areas, we are recommending that the face shield be used. You know that shield,
Yes.
because you can see the smile through that.
Sir, one more thing. Do you think there is a requirement to draw a line between human involvement and going technology? We have to draw a line, during this time also, do we require to draw a line between human involvement and
We have to draw a line, because you know what happens is when people get very enamored with technology, they start talking about all sorts of things. We can do this, we can do that. Actually, you can really run a hotel with robots. You don't need humans, but then you do need humans, because hotels, the hotel industry is an industry of people. Our bosses often used to remind us, they used to ask us, what industry are you in? And somebody would say, we are in hotels, we are into selling food. They said, no, you're in the industry of experience. We're not even in the service industry. We're in the industry of experience. And as far as experience is concerned, we need to have an interaction. In fact, I just have to tell you, we hoteliers were not very happy these key cards came. The key cards that are used nowadays. Because the key card made us lose the opportunity of interacting with our guests. So the times when we used to have the metal keys, every time the guest went out, they would leave the metal key at the reception. And every time they came in, they would come and ask for their key. So when they would ask for their key, we would say, how's your day, sir? and we would practice a lot of personalization. In fact, Kulmohan and I have worked together in the front office where we were trained to remember people's name by their faces, you know, and hand over the key before the person asks for it with their name. It also requires it acts as a security check. So, Chandra, if you were staying in a hotel and you walked in, I would take out the key and I would say, "Good evening, Miss Paul. How was your evening today?" Now, isn't that a good opportunity to interact with you?
Yes, certainly.
So we lose that. So yes, we do draw a line. We do draw a line and we do stop in many places where technology comes in and we say, no, sorry, we do not want this technology. We do not want technology to stop our interaction. We want technology to make things easy for us because we are a people's industry.
We are service industry, exactly.
Sorry, I'd just like to add, Rai Bahadur MS Oberoi, you must have heard his name,
Yes, sir.
the only original hotelier of this country. Now, in his book, he says one thing he says, and I can vouch for it as a frequent traveler, that the loneliest place in the world is a hotel room.
Uh,
So when a person is out on a tour or anything and goes back to after a day's work, they enter a room which is absolutely quiet and silent, which adds to that person's loneliness. So their interaction is important. Contact is important with that guest. So we will watch very carefully when any technology that comes which interferes with our contact. And we are doing the same with this COVID.
yes.
The
Thank you,
initial,
sir. I would request other. Yes, sir.
yes, please ask others to.
Sajid, I'd like to add to what you said regarding the room keys, having those big tags. I remember when you and I started at the ITC Moria, long
Yes,
time ago,
sir.
it was called the Moria Hotel.
Mhm.
Can
Yes.
you hear me, Sajid?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So the Moria Hotel had made key tags which are so heavy, Sajid, if you remember,
Yeah.
almost 200 to 250 grams was one key tag.
Yes.
And so it practically became difficult for people to carry that heavy key tag with them going outside. And, people also used to take a lot of fancy for the key tags. They used to say,
Mm,
"Oh, I lost the key. Can I have another one, please?" So they used to, go for the very good brass tag.
mm,
So, in fact, I used to always wonder as to why the key tag is so heavy. It's
mm,
difficult. So that people should not take it out, so bring it back. And as Sajid said, the opportunity of a personal interaction grows with the key being exchanged each time.
And many other.
Yeah.
Good.
If attendees
Good.
want to
Now
ask some
let's
questions, they can type in the chat box, so we
yeah
can
let,
ask
let,
the
let's
questions to sir.
let's go in for any questions that they ask.
Hmm.
Yes. Any panelists have any questions can unmute themselves and ask, please.
Sajid sir,
Yes.
so you see, like you said, like key part and this thing or that thing, like the card keys came. So everything has a pros and cons. Like before, like the checkout used to take too much time because of handover keys as well.
Yes.
Plus, heavy for the pocket of the guest. Same time, because of the card keys, this thing like the security point for the guest. For the guest, just need to keep the keys and voila, so everything is ready. So this thing came in the 90s, the card keys, and that one went a one step ahead for the industry as well, from the security point of view, especially for the single ladies. So right now, I think like we have to evolve. Like you said, like, interaction is very crucial in our industry because I remember like because of card keys as well. Because I worked in the cruise lines. So in Jamaica, one guest, one whole family, they signed off from there. And next week, when the ship came back over there, they showed the key and they went inside the ship. It was before 9/11, and then they had the buffet over there, and then they went back to the island as well. So it was both ways. So we need to find ways, I think, So industry has to evolve. Like this COVID-19 has come, so that way, so we need to find ways. So it's like I don't know, trial
So
and error.
let me tell you, technology has evolved because these keys, as you know, number one, they are timed.
Yeah,
After a particular time, they stop working. Hmm?
yeah,
So whatever checkout date you've given at 12 o'clock, your key will stop working. Hmm?
mm,
And the other thing is that today a lot of things are being accessed through your key. In most new hotels, when you enter the elevator, you have to put your key there, and
yeah,
it will permit you to go to that floor only. Yeah. Now, similarly, you are talking about cruises. I
yeah,
have also consulted for Royal Caribbean. Hmm?
yeah. I worked in Royal Caribbean as well, sir.
Yeah, there you have to put your key there.
Yeah,
So if you got an old key, you may put it there, it will not work. The
yeah.
door will
That's
not
where the
swing open.
embarkation takes time, because that
Yeah,
time they put that embarkation time. This thing takes time because they are taking the picture of the guest as well as all the
exactly.
credit card details as well.
Yeah, quite true. So there are pros and cons, and the
Yeah,
advantage is with the card key is that if I can tell you as a person who's handled hotels that when things go wrong, you can get a whole readout as to
yeah,
who entered the and it's very easy to make master keys secondary master keys. That means you can make a master key for a chambermaid that she can service only these 10 rooms.
yeah,
So with that master key, she or he can open only those 10 rooms. A floor supervisor can be given a master key by which only that floor rooms can open. Yes, it has given us a lot of flexibility, and that is why it has been absorbed so quickly.
yeah,
So we are willing to, everything has got a trade-off. You lose one thing, you gain something.
yeah.
So in the trade-off, if your gain is more than your loss, it's fine. So we've lost personalization and we've gained this. So you've taken it.
Thank you, sir.
I have one question for you, Sajid, if I may ask you.
Sure, please do, yeah.
Yeah, now with the new normal, I'm sure you'll agree with me that the ARRs have gone down a lot, and the requirement of staff has gone down a lot. The F&B has less pressure now, but at the same time, the pressure on various other things to ensure hygiene, sanitation, sanctity of everything have gone up. So, what are the hotels actually looking out? How has it impacted them? How much has it impacted them with regard to the cost? At one point in time, they're saving a lot of cost. On the other side, as you say, there are so many checks everywhere, so many sanitizers, so many masks, which the hotels are going. So, what financial impact has it made on hotels normally? Have they started losing money, or what is it?
No, they're not. They're not because the new rules that have come. Now, I just have to share something with you. When we started with these rules, we were having a virtual talk with the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Tourism. And they came up with a 72-page document of what the hotels need to do. When we went through the document, I went and told them that if we have to implement all these things, it is going to cost us 36% of the revenue that we earn from a room night. And the good operating profit is 30, which means 6% the hotel has to pay for their own pocket. So this was discussed again and again, and finally the guidelines that we have are only 12 pages and are workable. So all these exercises and all are workable now. Yes, there is going to be a cost impact. But then furthermore, I would like to say that there was a cost impact when security came. When we had to invest in cameras, we had to invest in therapy machines, we had to provide additional staffing for scanning the baggage and all that. So yes, it does affect profitability, does go down. But then in other areas, technology is helping us in uh, bringing costs down. It has an impact. It has an impact, but it has not had that such an impact that we will not make money. Hotels will not make money. Hotels will make money. And the first thing that is spoken about so many people not having quality is going to come back. It will take some time, but it will come back because in our case, the show never stops.
The show never stops, right?
The show never stops.
Yeah,
Show never stops.
that's it.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think Shubham Bishnoi has posted one question. I just saw it disappear.
Yes, sir. Please.
Chanda madam, maybe you can read it somehow, or I do not know how to access that one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the question is, since all the companies are moving from physical technologies to virtual technologies, should we convert room keys to phone application by installing it in the phones of the guests, which I think we are doing? There are inputs in it.
There is a proposal for that. There is a proposal for that, but it is going to take a long time to implement. The reason being that people use different phones with different formats, and it's going to be more cumbersome to reprogram every phone to turn into your key. It's this concept uh, uh, has more fascination, practicality in it. So yes, it is there. In fact, technology is available. It is available by which you can use your phone. There are many MNCs that are using, where people are using their mobile phone to mark their attendance of coming in through Bluetooth of their phone and entering their place of work. My daughter was working for Uber, and there they used to use their phone and Bluetooth to enter each section.
Actually, if I may also add, it's sad, but maybe the solution is that only that phone application where basically you've paid your room in advance, you've reserved your room, and you walk in a hotel where you don't even have to check in because you have received your electronic key, and you go up to your floor and you open your room and you've seen nobody basically. And when you go, it's automatically debited from your credit card or debit card, whatever balance payment you have, and you leave the hotel the same way you have entered. As I said, it's a bit sad because that human contact has disappeared. But in case of this COVID, maybe this is a good solution.
I'll say it is a good solution for economy hotels. It's a good solution for economy hotels because there are certain economy hotels that have experimented with self-check-in. There's a counter, a person goes and checks in themselves, and a key is thrown out. It's fine. But as I was saying, that there is a bit of a problem with the technology at this moment because different phones are using different formats. In fact, there's a big fight between iOS and Android. So it has to take care of all technologies to do this. Payments, of course. In fact, I'd like to tell you that I was wondering, I haven't done a check for the past couple of weeks.
Nowadays, you have the same kind of system in airports also, where you print your own ticket, you go on board without even talking to anybody.
Yes.
If you have no luggage, you can also drop your luggage at one dedicated area. So
Yes, I mean that is, and I'd like to tell you that's already in practice in Delhi and Hyderabad. Delhi, you get your boarding pass, show a code, and you just go through everything waving it. And even when you go through security, you just show to that guy and he taps you in here, and you go. But then, while traveling by air, that human contact is not essential. It is not part of the business. It's basically transporting you from one place to another. So that's what your intention is. But in the hotels, it's an experience. So, as I said, it will work very well with economy hotels. Because in economy hotels, you're basically looking for a clean bed to sleep in and go back to work. But where you are looking for an experience, it's not very helpful.
thank you,
I'd say that.
Mr. Mahmood. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Do we have, so there is one more question, Rajat sir. While uh, while
Yeah.
thinking about when the guest comes in the room and they find silent, empty room, hotels can use Alexa or similar products for operating room facilities in the way people feel a good gesture of someone talking to them in the room. So, I think they are just suggesting that hotels should start
I would
using
like to say,
Alexa or Google.
I would like to tell you that many hotels are using it. It's already coming use. And Alexa has got a module
Yes,
which
it
is
does.
hotel centric. The Grand Maratha in Bombay is using it, and they are planning to install it in the Welcome Hotel in Saket, where the guests can talk to this thing. So it is being used, but it can never replace the actual experience.
Sir, there is a question from one of our student only.
Chanda, your voice is
He's
gone.
asked. Okay.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Now I can hear you.
If the guest wants an extra bed or a baby cot, what all precautions should be taken care of?
No, it is
Basically, a
provided.
housekeeping question.
It is provided, and the same process is taking place in terms of sanitization and other things. It is provided, and but there are no changes in that. There is no special operating procedure for an extra bed or a cot. The same
Yes.
process is followed, and the extra bed today, uh, it comes with a bed made. So the bed is made and then it's folded. So it can be rolled in, and the guest can roll it themselves and just open it up, and the bed is there.
Yeah, so
And
roll
same
up
with
beds basically.
the cot. If the hotel has got an old type of a rollaway bed, then they'll have to request the guest to leave the room while it is being installed. That's all. That's the only difference.
Okay, sir. Any other panelists have any question? Sir, I have one last question from my side.
Sure.
Sir, we know that this COVID-19 has forced us to become contactless. So when I say that, how do we stay customer centric in this contactless world? If we Because we do not know when is COVID-19 is going to go off. So now the situation is that every company or every hotels or hospitality or industry is going towards contactless. So how do we stay customer centric, especially in our industry?
No, they will soon learn that what is meant by contactless is physical contact, not the other contact. Nobody is stopping you from picking up the phone and calling up a guest and talking to the guest in the room and having a contact with that person. So it is, people have to understand one thing, that it is only the physical contact. And that physical contact is also going to come back over a period of time. Not fully, but partially. Because at this stage, the problem is that people have not understood what COVID is. Even till date, different people say different things. Today, Italy has turned around and said it's not a virus, it's a, what do you call it? Bacteria. No, that's a paradigm shift in understanding it. It's something like recall HIV, AIDS. When AIDS came, what used to happen is if somebody had it came to know you somebody had AIDS, you wanted to be a mile away from that person. Now that knowledge has come, now we are going closer. Today they are saying you can touch a AIDS person, you can shake hands with them. There's nothing wrong in that. It doesn't get transmitted that way. So similarly, this is going to come back. There will be a modification. There will be a modification. But what all precautions are being taken right now? My estimation is that 60% of them will go away. Mark my word, there'll be a day when I'll shake hands with you.
So we even soon that day comes
It's
that
going to
we
come.
all.
It's going to come. It's not like like nowadays when you see either a namaste or a radha from far off there. Satriyakal from far off. It'll happen. It'll happen.
Yes. Sir, we have some questions from our students coming up regarding, the because of this breakthrough. Uh, human resource, basically hiring of or recruiting of staff, because already we are cutting down, all the industries are cutting down and working on half staff. So what is the future? The recruitment will happen in this industry, or how it will be? Will it be slow, and how
No,
it will be? That is
see, recruitment will happen because hotel is an industry that cannot run without people. I have run hotels and it's been so difficult for me to cut down staff. When concepts have come that we need to reduce from 1 to 1.75 to 1.5, it's been so difficult because it is an industry of people. So only some mechanical tasks can be cut down. Other things cannot be cut down. So recruitment will take place, but sorry, 2020 is going to be a bad year. So it is going to be slow, and the comeback is going to be slow, but it will come back, and we have to go back to the normal thing with certain modifications. So there'll never be less staff. We will have to. I'll just give you one example. I do not know. Oberoi started with Novotel. Novotel worked on the principle of what they call as limited service. It didn't work. It didn't work. Novotels with Oberoi failed. They had to turn them into Trident. Now today, those hotels are doing well. Similarly, Taj came up with Ginger. They even came up with ads where a person is putting a garland himself and going, checking in himself. As was being mentioned, a person can go themselves. It didn't work. It didn't work. Even at that low rate, they wanted someone to look after them because it's a human industry of humans. And that is why, let me put it this way, that the whole thing has changed. When we started our career, the best hotels used to be in the West of the world. Today, the best hotels are in the East, not in the West. The best hotels are not in America or Europe. They are in Singapore, Japan, in the East, because it's a service industry. It can't do with. So recruitment will come. I can understand that this must be an apprehension of many students. I can understand they got into this industry and they are working hard. But I'd like to assure them, no, they will get jobs. They may have some difficulty in the beginning, but they will get jobs in the hotel industry.
We just need to be positive and wait for the time to change. That's what we
No,
can
they
do
will
right
change.
now.
It will change, and it will change rapidly. You see, the point is, people have to travel. People have to travel. Travel is something, the economy will not run without people not traveling. They have to travel. So it will happen as unlocking takes place. And it's happening. In fact, I just to share, I went to Jaipur and I did up the Samud hotels. And when we opened Samud Haveli, it's a 80 room property. They would get about 3 to 4 rooms every day. They've climbed up to 2021 now. They get about 20 to 21 rooms occupied every day. Still getting the 70. But at least from 2, 3, they've come to 20. So slowly they'll climb up and then go back to 70. A time will come.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Any other questions from the panelists? So I think we have covered all the questions and all the doubts which we have in our mind. And Sajid sir, thank you so much. It was a pleasure listening to you. And,
My pleasure. My pleasure interacting with you people. I wish someday I can interact face to face with them.
Yes, certainly do that definitely. Whenever we are back in the university and the students are back, definitely we will have a pleasure of having you there. And
I'd love to see them.
Yes,
because they are our future. They're going to take the industry forward. Where we put it to a certain extent. Now they have to take over. Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you so much.
Nice listening to you.
Yes. Thank all the panelists, all the attendees for joining us and making this.
Thank you very much, Sajid. It was, you went into each and every department, man. It was wonderful.
Wonderful. You're right.
I tried to cover as much as possible, although there's much more to cover.
You covered all the areas. You covered all the areas.
This has become a
Yeah.
never-ending topic, sir. We can go on and on this.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did not go to HR and finance, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
HR comment, I've done a whole SOP for the housekeeping department, how little rooms are supposed to be kept in others. It's a larger subject. I just covered what the important ones.
Good, good, very nice, very well done. You've been, or I must tell everybody that Sajid Mahmood has always been very, very meticulous in his job. Always, when we were in front of his night reports, we used to make with hand only, and his were the most legible, the neatest one were his.
Thank you.
Bravo, thank you very much. You've kept the tradition, and till now you are meticulous in your job. Thank you very much, Sajid.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Sign
you
off
so
now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Bye bye.
I,
Bye.
I thank all the panelists and attendees for joining us. And stay tuned for our next workshop series, which is tomorrow, where the topic is housekeeping COVID-19, the secure toolkit by Mr. Nitin Dave, who is Managing Director Tenon. So see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.